Hi everyone, my name is Takfarinas. I'm a lecturer in the School of Computer Science in UCD, and I'm the lead of the Learning Enhancement project Digitization for Localized Lecturing Material in BDIC. In this presentation, I'm going to describe to you what was the project about, how it was implemented, and what did I achieve through it. So before starting describing the project, I would like to describe to you the context in which I am teaching myself. So I'm a lecturer in the School of Computer Science, but I do my teaching in an international college, a joint international college called BDIC for Beijing Dublin International College, which is a result of a collaboration between UCD from one side and Beijing Technical University of Technology in the other side. So this joint international college is located in Beijing, and what we do there is we teach students who are mainly Chinese for various types of degrees, and I'm personally involved in teaching in two undergrad programs. The first one being Bachelor of Science in Software Engineering, and the other one is Bachelor of Engineering in Internet of Things. So what we teach there is we teach these programs for a cohort of students who are mainly Chinese, who have English as probably first foreign language or second foreign language, and we teach in English. So the students from there, when they graduate with a degree from both UCD and BGUT. So that's actually one big advantage. They do the teaching there, they register for both UCD and BGUT, and they get the degree from both universities. So what you see from here is that the teaching is a bit different than what you might find in UCD, in the way that the cohort has a different main language, and the cohort has a different culture, at least originally. So in terms of teaching, things need not to be the same as the way they are done in UCD. There is a need to adapt the material into this particular cohort. Given the context I described to you just before, I proposed a project that is digitization for localized lecturing material in BDIC. So a project dedicated to this particular cohort of students and context. And this project is in two phases, as you could see: the digitization, and the second one is localization. By digitization, I mean making the material available in a digitalized format, whatever it is, whether it's lectures or slides or everything I do during the class in terms of activities. That's actually one good thing, because it enables students to review the material quietly at home or after the lecture if they miss some aspect, or if they don't understand the language straight away. They could review it and they could get even more information or go through it at their pace. And if you do so, particularly if you transform it, you have a digitalized videos, particularly for the lectures and for the tutorials. One thing that come to mind is that these formats are not easy to navigate. Like if they want to review them after a few weeks, they cannot go to the video and search through it easily. And that's why one other aspect for it is what's called transcriptization of the videos. So you have the videos, you will be able to create transcripts which help the students to read, to go through the material, and at the same time, afterwards, they could use these transcripts to search through the videos as they go. So that's one of the first aspects of the project. The second aspect is localization. So after dealing with the problem of language barrier, the other aspect is localization to address the culture barrier. So it's clear that giving examples that come from a background of a Western world, some of them might be fit for a Chinese cohort, but many of them will not go straight away to the point where they say, oh, this is what it means in my context. And as lecturers, we try living there, we live there for a few months, and we try to get sense of how things are working there, what are the common examples we should provide to give them a sense of what they are learning. But many of the examples we give are still informed by the Western culture, and it's not easy to adapt to the Chinese student. And there comes the second aspect, which is localization, where students themselves propose examples. So as a lecturer, we kind of try to give them a sense of what is the component or the concept they learn. And as students, we ask them to propose examples where they could meet these concepts in their daily life from their own experience, what they see around. And this is, as an activity, could also help a lecturer to understand how things are in China, and also to other students as peers there, they could help each other. If a student gets an example from his colleague, it might be more meaningful than an example that the lecturer would provide. So in summary, this is how the project looks like. So as a lecturer, I try to put all the content I generate in a digitalized format, and this digitalized content are put in a certain platform where they are transcribed and also translated to a different language, here Chinese. Then students collaborate to this content by actually going through the content and proposing different examples that are more localized to their daily life, to their culture, and so on. And all this platform in the middle serves both the students, as it enhances their learning experience by providing them with better understanding and more examples that are more meaningful to them, and also for the lecturer, as it informs the lecturer first of all about new examples for future lectures, and also how the students are interacting, or if there is any issue with the examples that were provided. So in terms of implementation, I would like to give you a kind of an overview of how this project is implemented before, at least in general, before giving you more details how it is implemented in my case. So the way the project is defined is that at the beginning, as a lecturer, I provide the content, I show it to the students, I give the lecture or the tutorial or the examples that I explained during the class. Then I ask volunteering students from the same class to go through this content and generate transcripts for them. So if it's a video, then this video is transcribed both in English and in Chinese. And this also becomes another part of the digitalized version, so even the transcriptions are digitalized. Then one of the major tasks here is putting all of this together, and thanks to the help of a teaching assistant, this teaching assistant takes the content all together and puts it in a nice form using a platform called Microsoft Stream, and I will go back to it later with more details. So if we have this content ready to be posted in the platform Microsoft Stream, what is only missing here is the lecturer giving some kind of prompts for students in terms of quizzes or questions that elicit these interactions from the students to kind of have their personal views or how they see this work or these concepts fit with their daily lives. And this also is digitalized. It is also put into the Microsoft Stream platform. So all of that material is put together in a nice way in Microsoft Stream that student could access, and lecturer could also review to see if things are going well, how are the students engaging, and also how he could improve the things later on for future lectures. Now that I gave you an overview of how the project is structured, at least in practice, I will go with you through a case study I have done with my cohort, a student that I'm teaching, that I taught in 2020 in BDIC. So the module is Comp 203J, data structures and algorithms 2. So it's a module in computer science for level 2, Bachelor of Engineering in IoT, Internet of Things. So the class had 124 students. So unlike the way it is in UCD, the trimester is composed of 15 weeks instead of 12. And every week you have 2 lectures of 45 minutes every week, one after the other. So 1 hour and a half together, if you will. So as I explained earlier, the first aspect, the first task of this project pipeline is basically providing the lectures and also the tutorials. So all of these were done digitally. Actually, at the beginning, I planned to kind of record the lectures and the tutorials, but due to COVID, everything moved in online, so I had to do it anyway in a digitalized way. So the lectures were recorded as, first of all, made as PowerPoint and voiceover with my video on top of them. And for tutorials, I am using a tablet, so I have my examples, I go through them one by one, and I write on them, and I post it as a video as well, with my voice over them as well. After obtaining the content, the lecture and tutorial content in a digitalized format, now the next step is to ask student volunteering to create transcripts, both English and Chinese, for the content I generated. So this is done by 2 students volunteering every week. So every week I ask 2 different students from the same class. I provide them obviously the material in advance so that it will be ready on the week it is due for the regular student to read through it, go through it, and listen to it. And obviously they generate both English and Chinese. The aim of asking 2 different students every week is basically to kind of shuffle through students and not always have the same student taking their times. But actually the problem is that the more I go in the semester, in trimester, students actually become busier, and actually at some point I ended up with the same students volunteering because others were too busy and didn't want to take extra responsibility there. So in terms of students, they are volunteering, but I try to reward them, so I offer them vouchers of £20 each for their help. And obviously I also offer incentive to kind of mention a nice thing about this in their reference letter for their future reference letter for postgrads or job offers. So here you will see a few students of mine who were creating the transcripts themselves. Sometimes they do it using some certain tools. Actually, Microsoft Stream gives help to do it, but some of the students, they do it just by typing on an editor, just a text editor. So they listen to the video as it goes, they type the time and what it says. So I have no restriction on this. Students do it the way they want it, it's fine. But it went very well, and many of them liked doing it. So I'm quite happy with that. After obtaining the transcripts from the students, so I end up with my lectures or videos and so on, and the content generated by the students, which is the transcripts. The issue is that if you give them just like this to students, it won't be helpful. They have transcripts here and they have videos there. Many of them don't know how to link them together, and also they don't know how to leverage them to search parts of the video they want to watch. And this was actually the task that I am grateful for the teaching assistant who helped me put together everything in a platform, which is Microsoft Stream. So in Microsoft Stream, what you do is basically you could upload the video, you could upload the transcripts, And actually you could edit the transcripts as you see here. If you click on it, you could update it. If you click on it, it jumps where you are, you want to go in the video itself. You could change the transcript to a different language, and also you could search for the part in the transcript you want, and it will take you just there in the video. So it was really helpful to have that for the students, because it's just one place with everything there. And in addition to that, in UCD we are automatically subscribing to this service, and any student could access this service using their existing UCD email and password. Obviously UCD isn't promoting it that much. We are more using Brightspace techniques for video, but this is also a service that is subscribed to by UCD, and it's something that you could use just off the shelf without asking students to register and so on. You can just ask them to go there. You could create one package for your module, and you could host everything there. So here is the platform. All of this is done in a nice way thanks to the teaching assistant, and the teaching assistant is paid as a demonstrator in my case. So you could ask to have a demonstrator. I don't know if it's possible in your school. In the computer science, it's possible to ask a PhD student or a master's student to kind of assist you. So here the student is rewarded as a demonstrator, as a salary. We correspond to an hourly pay as a demonstrator or TA. After having everything well together in the stream platform, now it's time for me to kind of add the last steps to kind of increase student engagement, because from time to time it's kind of lengthy for students to watch videos, especially here, as you could see, up to an hour video. So what I try to do is to kind of spice things up and try to put some things that elicitate the engagement of the students, whether it's a quiz or a survey or just some simple question that makes them interact and wakes them up a bit. So the advantage of using Microsoft Stream is that it's part of the Microsoft ecosystem. Once you start using it, it offers you a lot of things that are Microsoft that you could use with it as well. And one of them is called Microsoft Forms. Microsoft Forms is a Microsoft service, so it's the same as Microsoft Stream. Students don't need to register. Just having a UCD email and password enables them to connect to Microsoft Stream and be logged in and be able to interact to this lecture. So Microsoft, with these forms, you could create quizzes or surveys and attach them directly to your videos. So this has a lot of advantages. For me, I could have an assessment. Basically, instead of having quizzes outside of the lectures, I could have them at a particular point to make sure that students know a particular component before moving to the next one. And also, as I say here, to break monotony and make students understand the material even better. Right? And it could also serve as just an icebreaker to a new topic, basically asking one question about one aspect and then in the lecture trying to describe it. It's basically a better way of compensating for the lack of interaction in online teaching with just a simple quiz or simple survey in between the lecture. So doing so closes at least the first part of the pipeline for this project, which is creating material that is fully digitalized and a bit of localized thanks to the Chinese transcription as well. In addition to that, it will be fully searchable and so on. So now, empowered with this platform, with everything, all of the material being hosted in Microsoft Stream, students could access this material and engage with it, right? And one of the way they could engage with it is watching the content. So here you have one of my students watching the content Here he chooses to watch it with with Chinese subtitles, I believe, and here another one watching it with English subtitles. So you could choose any subtitles as long as you have them. You could change it to a different language. So especially in UCD, if you have many other students of different cultures, you could have subtitles of different ones. You could try to translate the subtitles using some translation services such as Google Translate. It enables to do that, but often the translation is not amazing. So hopefully translation will get better at some point. And the other aspect that students could do is, as I said, search for content. So imagine you give the lecture today. After 2 weeks, 3 weeks, students cannot just go back to the lecture, listen to it through it, maybe 1 hour or more, and search for a particular sentence you mentioned or a particular keyword you mentioned or an example. They could just go there, type the words that they think they have heard or they want to search for, and it will take them to the position in the transcript and also the position in the video. Therefore, students will interact way better in terms of searching the material. The other aspect that students could benefit from is to post their own forms, and these forms could maybe be questions to the lecturer. Let's say if they don't understand one element or one component in the lecture at a particular time, they can create actually an interaction at that time, and it will be visible to the lecturer if they wish, and also to their peers, so that the lecturer, they could answer knowing what they have an issue with. Because the issue with when you post a lecture, students have to go and explain the entire context. Where is the issue, what they don't understand. Whereas here, they could just post their question or things they need clarification about exactly where they see fit, or exactly when they need it, so the peers could see it and the lecturer could see it as well. In addition to this, as I said, the other question is that when the lecturer proposes some examples, he could also elicit some interaction from the student by asking them to propose their own examples for that particular problem or that particular concept. And students could put in their location, their localized content, or the localized examples, and these will be visible to all the students at the given time, maybe giving students even more informative skills so that they could really understand what this means in their daily life. This platform, if I have to say one thing, is that it's very good in terms of giving feedback. First of all, give feedback to students because, as I said earlier, they really get examples from their localized life. So these examples make a lot of sense for them, are meaning even more for them. And also, once they give different examples, they could see what the other people or the other peers are saying about the same context. So it puts actually more emphasis in the learning from the peers, from the examples that are more meaningful for them in their lives. And also, it gives feedback to the lecturer, because for the lecturer, there is nothing harder than kind of assessing student engagement and students following the content and understanding the content. So actually, for the lecturer, given that you could put quizzes in the middle, you could put surveys, and you could also try to learn the student's perspective in terms of localized content, this feedback for the lecturer is very important because the lecturer could leverage it in a way that it will improve the future content that he will deliver, future lectures, or maybe trying to add extra tutorials to clarify some aspects and so on. Overall, in terms of impact, what I have seen from this, at least running this module for the third time, so basically you have run it for 3 times. In blue is the latest one, 2019. In red is 2018. In yellow is 2017. And this is the distribution of grades. Here is the number of students. So what you could see is that there is a better distribution. There are way less students here below with D minus than the years before, which means actually this technique or this project helped, I believe, a lot of students in who were lacking to improve their situation, to improve their learning, because we are actually helping them with more information that make more sense. We make them more engaged, and I believe this had a big impact in reducing the number of students who were close to failing and actually bringing them more towards C pluses, Bs, and actually we have even more normal distribution than the years before, where we have seen actually distributions that weren't quite normal. And also one major advantage is that we only had 5 failed out of 125, and it was continuous assessment, and many of them failed because they didn't show up, or they just showed up for one only module and they didn't want to continue. So actually, those students who did at least the activities, they all of them passed the module this year. In the years before, it was 6 out of less students, 111, which correspond to 5 something. So actually, we reduced the number of failed students slightly, maybe not significantly enough. But where the impact is big is in terms of feedback, because students enjoyed this project quite a lot, both those who collaborated and participated as in the creation of the content, the transcript content, and also the student who didn't participate in the generation of content. In the year 2018, I had basically some feedback which was already good, around 4.8, 4.5. Then it became around 4.6, which was a significant improvement. And also comparison, when compared to the School of Computer Science, my feedback actually improved even more. It was already good in terms of the School of Computer Science, average in School of Computer Science, but it improved even more this year. I believe this project had a significant impact on the students, both in terms of success, getting them to learn better, getting them to engage with the content, and also in terms of enjoying the lecture and enjoying the content they received and the way the module has been managed. And so far, I try to kind of interact and disseminate this project to the lecturers in BDIC. And I hope this might elicit also some potential project for all the lecturers in the School of Computer Science and also in UCD in general. Thank you very much.